Hello everybody, Blue Dooley, and we're in the garage working on the CXT. A couple of things. We're going to work on the Lil Red Express, which you can't see, a little bit today. And that big piece of steel right there is going to be the new frame for the trailer for the CXT. So we're going to be kind of working on a few projects today. Now, I did finish taking apart the transmission motor setup for the CXT. We're gonna kind of brainstorm how to keep that upper shaft from bending. We're also going to talk about wheels. I designed up some 10 lug 6-hole wheels. This one I painted with an aluminum paint, and kind of like it. It's kind of a dull aluminum, kind of unpolished look, which I kind of like. I probably should get another coat of paint on this one. But I printed up 4 wheels. I haven't painted all 4 of them. I only printed 3. So this one is aluminum. The rear one, which we need more light for. Stand by. More light. There we go. We'll turn that light on. Move this over here for now. All right, so the rear one is painted in the same paint the body is. And I'll have to put on screen what the paint coat is for this silver. The body matched wheel is kind of cool. I kind of dig the look. I like it a little more than the aluminum because it's got a little bit more of a shiny aluminum look to it. And the front wheel is gunmetal, which is what the 53 hauler, all of the chrome was stripped and it was entirely painted gunmetal. I do have a center cap to hide the wheel nuts. I'll have to go grab one here. But regardless, this the center little sleeve of the hub and the lug nuts are going to be detailed painted black. So it'll be aluminum, gunmetal, or body color, and then the lug nuts, the hub, the cover, and stuff will be black, just to be a detail look. Let me go snag one of those covers real quick. There's what it looks like with the hub cover. Just an 8-lug kind of axle flange, which you'd find on a heavy-duty truck on the rear. I thought about maybe putting manual hubs on the front of the truck, but then I was like, that's a little more detail than I need. Plus, once you get this far away from the truck, you're not really going to see it. So there's what it looks like on the back axle. Nothing super fancy, but it kind of hides the nut, gives it a little more realistic look. So in the comments, let me know which of the 3 colors you prefer: gunmetal, body, or aluminum. There's the body and aluminum, just for comparison's sake. I could do black. The problem with black is it doesn't show up any details on camera unless you get really, really close. Black, of course, is simple and would hide the 3D print flaws a little more. Those 2 got primer and then paint. That's just paint. But the gunmetal, I think, kind of has a little more depth than just the black, but everything else on the truck's black, so that's kind of where that's at. Those are new tires and new foams. So obviously those other foams have been broken down and stuff, but I still need to get stiffer foams for the truck. It just looks better sitting up a little bit. The smaller wheel diameter I really like over the larger wheel diameter. And again, see, the black just kind of disappears. So let's come over here. The workbench. So there you can see a little bit better. That's actually inside the tire or the lip. So it's not a ton smaller, but it's just enough smaller. I really kind of like it. A little more sidewall than these 3.2s. They're a little narrower than the 3.2s as well. Or maybe not quite. It might be the same width. Any case, I do like the design on those. I might try to do a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 hole design. These of course are 8 lugs, but that truck would have 10 lugs in real life. So the body's not fully on it because I need to wire up lights. We might get to that, we might not today. So before we jump on trailer stuff, I need to get the truck out of the way, and we need to get behind the bright light is the Lil Red Express body. We need to get some more putty on it, get the hood hinges glued in place. So let me rearrange some things and then we'll glue some hood hinges. So I'm using one of the CXT tires to kind of hold the hood in place. And I've got one hinge in. The part that actually glues to the hood, I'm missing a piece, so I got to print one out. But the hood and the doors have a slot in them so that the door and the hood can kind of pull away from the hinge to get a little more travel out of it. And we're using the plastic weld, general purpose plastic solvent cement. So I need to get the hood hinges in. I got the door hinges on. And I need to get the hinges and all stuff in, so then when I go to paint, those are already bonded to the plastic, and I don't have to worry about trying to glue them to the painted surface. I can just paint them. At least that's the idea. And I also remembered to put it so the screw head is towards the center of the truck, so I have plenty of room to get in there with a screwdriver if I need to take it when I go to take everything apart. Because I forgot to do that on the doors, and that's why there's a hinge still in there, is because I'm sick and tired of trying to turn it out 1/8 of a turn at a time. I really gave myself way too much body work for this thing. I don't have the patience for it. That was my mistake. So for the CXT transmission, I've got an idea. We'll go over here in a little bit on how to keep that. But the other thing I noticed is the pieces I printed for the bearing are a little sloppy. So that's why I had thought the bearings had just allowed the pinion gear to move and just unmesh it enough that it just tore these two gears up. So to remedy that, I'll come down here to my pile of stuff. I have this nice thick aluminum stock, which actually is little bit thicker than the bearing itself. So what I can do is punch a hole through here and then sink a bit in that's the size of this bearing, but leave a bit of material so the bearing can't go all the way through it. And then this will be able to bolt to this, and then the opposite one will bolt in here between the motors so that the pinion or that center shaft cannot move at all. I think that'll also quiet it down quite a bit. Now its current setup is all 3 gears are identical teeth count. And it's way too fast, so I need to go down several teeth on both of these. And I have some adjustability on one side, not quite as much on the other. But I should be able to go down a couple of teeth on those and lower the top end, as well as produce more torque for more power. Because I want this setup to pull a ton of weight. I want this transmission to be pulling 100 times more than what it's rated ever designed or thought it would do. Now to do that, what I'm thinking is actually filling this whole piece up here between the first gear and second gear. Is I'll put a bearing up by this gear and a bearing up by this gear, 3D printing a part that'll hold both those bearings up against these 2 bars. I thought about trying to run a piece of key stock through there, but let's rotate that around. So that's about as far as we're going to get. But there just isn't quite enough room to run as thick a piece as I want. I really just don't want this thing to bend. I think if I can keep if I can get all the flex out of this transmission and keep that shaft from bending, I think this transmission will actually handle the power just fine. I just need to make some adjustments to do that. The other thing I had thought is bend a piece so it kind of arcs between these 2, and then slice a bushing in half and glue half the bushing to it and just have the bushing riding on the top, pressing down on the shaft to keep it from bending. Again, the transmission just, I don't think it was ever intended, well, when it was designed, it certainly was never intended to hold this much power, because 2 brushed motors from 30 plus years ago wouldn't even have the power of one of those brushless motors. So I think I need to get my bearings tighter. I need to get the whole transmission tighter, and that it'll work perfectly good after that. So this is the original trailer I built for the CXT, and got damaged while we were working on the full-size truck a few years ago. And I was never really super happy with it. But I 3D printed a part that fits in that tube, and I can actually put a cotter pin through it and lock the trailer in place like a full-size trailer. I just don't have safety chains. And that's the original CXT chassis. And as you can see, it takes up more than half. And the CXT is shorter than the hauler. And I'd really like the CXT to be able to pull the hauler plus another vehicle the same length. So this trailer has to be probably 6 feet. I don't know what that would scale out to be as. So I will do some math and come back, and then we'll kind of go over what suspension this trailer has and what I'm thinking for the next one. So after checking Google, doing some maths, pretty much the longest deck length I could find for a gooseneck is 53 or 58 feet. Because once you add in the neck, that brings the total length out probably close to 53 feet. Yeah, maybe a little longer, but 48 is pretty much the max I could find. Which, again, kind of makes sense because the maximum trailer length in the United States from front of trailer, not kingpin, front of trailer to rear of trailer, is 53 feet. So a 10th scale version of a 48-foot deck trailer would, of course, be 4 feet 8 inches. Super easy. Actually, it's 4 feet, 4.8 feet. So a little longer than 4 foot 6. Basically to where the tape measure is. So the new trailer is going to be made much like the truck frame, and I'm going to split the tubing in half, except instead of curving it so the C channel goes in, I'll actually do it backwards so the C channel is out, and it'll look like it's made out of I-beam instead of just channel. And again, from the angle you're going to be pretty much looking at it most of the time. Those details really aren't going to matter. It's just when you actually, the camera gets really low, that you'll see any of that stuff. So this trailer is about 10 inches shorter than what I'm going to build this time. I also don't think I'm going to dovetail it. I haven't decided yet. I might just keep it full flat deck. One, it'd be easier. Two, I wouldn't drag the rear of the trailer going places. So, not going to actually be big enough to put a 53 and a 53 length vehicle on the same trailer, because those 53 haulers are pretty much 3 feet by themselves. So about just past where that rear suspension point is, almost right about yay-ish, because the 53 is about 6 inches longer than the CXT. So I can copy the measurements off of this, pretty much keep it the same chassis width. I'll just make it longer. Now this trailer actually had a air ride. Well, it had coil springs, but it was simulated air ride, which is basically a single beam going up to a single pivot point on the trailer, and then with a pad on the back for your airbag, essentially, right here. Real trailers, especially like air ride, flatbeds, reefers, this is the suspension they have. One side is fixed. The other side, usually on the driver's side, is a cam bolt. That's how you adjust your alignment on just one side, is with that cam bolt. That's exaggerated, of course, but that's how simple an airbag suspension is on a trailer. A beam, and then the axle is usually, it can be clamped to these arms or it is welded to these arms. Super, super simple. The suspension I want to build is actually not going to be found on a light duty trailer like this. We're actually going to use the Porsche as an example. So what I'm going to do is a walking beam suspension, which means it has a center pivot point and just a beam. In this case, a piece of tube that is going to weld to that axle, go straight across to that axle, weld, and then there'll be a hole in the middle of it to run a bolt through it. and that'll allow those two to pivot up and down independently, but there will be no spring motion. Again, not something you'd find on this kind of trailer, but when you see it driving around, unless the camera angle is extremely low, like at this angle, you're never going to actually see what kind of suspension the trailer has. For decking, I might use the wood slats again, or I could get some of that 10th scale diamond plate and do that. The problem with that is I'd have to put a sheet of something down first, because that diamond plate is made out of basically beer or pop can material and is super duper thin, and if you put any weight on it or dropped anything on that trailer, just punch a hole right through that diamond plate. So I'd have to have steel plate or sheet metal to support the diamond plate, which would add to the cost and the weight. The wood looks pretty good. Most of these decks are wood decks anyways for goosenecks. Or I might go buy some balsa wood. Don't know if the balsa wood would also break easily, so I still might have to put something underneath to kind of support it more than just the cross members every so many inches or feet, whatever I decide to do. But I need to split that tubing, hopefully straight, or I might actually chop it to length first and then split it. That might make more sense. But so far, not much work. I've kicked around the idea of hinging the back part of the trailer, so the last maybe 8 inches actually would pivot down. So instead of a dovetail driving around, it'd be straight, and then when you want to load or unload, the back end just drops down. I could use linear actuators to do that. I could use a big servo to do that. It'd look really cool, but trying to do that in scale is difficult because the angles of those kinds of things. So when the deck's flat, the cylinder isn't at much of an angle. So I need a short throw linear actuator with a boatload of torque to actually hold the trailer up when not in use. I could also cheat, make it look like it has cylinders, and just put a pin in it and hold it up, put a pin in it. When I want to fold it down, pull the pin out. So I'm thinking though, I might just keep it straight for simplicity's sake. And again, adding too many details and things like that to the trailer, it's going to get too heavy, or to the point of weighing so much I don't want to bring it with me. If that makes sense. 10th scale, that's why most of the stuff is 14th scale, because 14th scale, anything construction wise, is going to weigh a lot, and the 10th scale stuff is going to weigh even more, especially if you want the same durability in it. Forgot to mention that's the old CXT chassis. So I'm starting the process of jigging up the frame rails. I got a piece of round stock here set in pucks designed to hold it straight. Clamped it down. That's my straight edge to line up the front of the frame. And unscientifically, I just used these brackets to space the frame apart, which puts this at 4 3/4 inches on the inside measurement of the frame, which makes it 3/4 of an inch inside wider than the outside of the CXT's frame is, which I could spend a ton of time trying to math this out and make it as scale as possible. But the thing is, you're not going to really see the chassis, my cross members, or any of that crap when it's finished. You're basically just going to see the deck and the neck, and then the wheels and tires, of course. So frame width really doesn't matter. I just need it to be narrow enough that the duals will fit on each side. And of course, since the trailer and the truck are both a foot across, that makes it really easy to build a trailer for that CXT. So all I need to do is cut. I'm going to use some square tubing. That tubing was 1 inch. This is 3/4 inch. So I think I'm just going to cut maybe 3 pieces of that at 4 3/4. Weld one almost all the way up here at the front. Weld one kind of in the middle. Weld one kind of towards the end. That'll get the bow out, because as soon as I cut the tubing, it bowed, which kind of makes sense. It was sort of forced through a machine to be a square tube and straight. So cutting it, it would bow a little bit. Plus, I didn't cut it in a super straight line anyways. That didn't help. So 3 main cross members just to kind of keep the frame square and keep the rails from twisting when there's weight on it, like a lot of weight on it. And then of course the angle iron is just I'm gonna notch it so the angle iron sits flat and straddles it, and then that'll be flat across to support whatever decking I put on here. But the problem is the table's 3 feet long and these are 4 foot 8 inches long. So overhangs my fab table a little bit, but I just need square. Then when I scoot the frame forward to put the third one in, the middle one will be on the table still, and it'll still be in the jig square. Makes sense? Makes sense to me. So let me, again, cutting and grinding on camera just annoys the hell out of me, so I'm just going to do this and we'll come back. So I have 4 cross members along the length of the chassis. Now I did space those up off the table a little bit to get them centered in the frame rails, and they are to keep it from rolling when there's weight on it, to keep that bottom from rolling out and bending. Absolutely overkill for toy trucks, but still probably not as heavy duty as some people build them. So the old one, I got it next to it just so we can kind of compare it. Now it only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, actually only 1, 2, 3, 4 actual cross members, and then 1 on each end, just to kind of give the wood something to butt up against and sit on. And then I did not factor in how much overlap I had on the neck. Now I could actually weld the neck right up here on the very front, instead of having that overlap. So that would actually bring that trailer out to being that much longer. So now what I need to do is, the height of that trailer turned out really well. So I will make the neck the same height, and then the back of the trailer's height will be determined by tire size, wheel and tire size, and how far down or how far up off the axles I need to space that. So that is pretty, almost infinitely adjustable, basically, to get the ride height correct. Now, since I am going with a little smaller tire, I could actually make the neck just a teensy bit longer. Which might start looking a little weird. That height actually looked pretty good. But it is my trailer and I can build it however the hell I want. Just like if you're following along, you can build your trailer however the hell you want. I kind of put a little bit of a lean on the neck just to kind of make it look cool. Because not all necks are 90'd. Some of them kind of come up and over and then angle down at a 45 and then go into the bed. So there are lots of ways you can do this. I have plenty of tubing, so I think what I am going to do is I'm just going to add the tube or the channel straight up and do it that way. I think that'll look pretty good. And then, of course, there'll be a piece of angle running across to tie into, and I can always fish plate the back if I need to as well. Which again, overkill for toy trucks, but considering how heavy I am, it needs to be a little overkill. So let's grab the tape measure, as soon as I find it here. So that is 9.5, but it is sitting up off the table like a 1/4 of an inch, maybe, 1/8 of an inch. So I think actually, yeah, it's actually off the inch, 1/4 inch. So if I go 9 1/4 on the tubing, or the tubing that I'm cutting for channel, that should get me a pretty good height and match that, because that chassis is a little bit thicker than the flat stock I used. I think I used 3/4 flat. We can check. I have the tape measure in my hand. We can check. Nope, it is 1 inch. So it might just be the way it's sitting on the table. Well, and it's bent, so yeah, we'll go 9.5. Yeah, 9.5, and just come straight off the ends here. And then we'll have to measure this when we get that far. And this is kind of where I like the fab table, is I have it clamped down. I can actually put my speed square on here, actually get good angles so it looks pretty, instead of the eyeballed mess I did the other trailer in. So I got both of my uprights welded in place. Somebody's stuck in my pocket. And I got the first piece of angle iron cross member in place. Again, this one is so then the boards or the bottom will fit right there. And it'll be front. And then there will be a strap running along the outside. So I got, again, not super pretty welds. That one's kind of terrible. But I actually, because of course, since when I split it, they're not straight, they're a little wavy. I'm actually measuring from the inside of the frame rails to the outside of that to make these even. So from inside of frame to outside, it is 3 5/8 inch from inner to outer. And this piece is cut exactly at a foot. So it'll be a foot wide, 12 inches wide, which is as wide as the hauler and the CXT themselves at their widest point. So that will make the, that'll keep the trailer within reason. I could measure what 8'6" is and scale it down, and the truck's a foot wide, the trailer's gonna be a foot wide. It's that simple. A little stringy piece here. Come off. There we go. Anyways, so now what I need to do is cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more pieces of angle to put across here, and I don't think that might actually be enough angle. I might have to go to the store and get another 3-foot piece, because I'd like to have the cross members a little closer together than that one, just for weight. Like I said, this trailer is overkill for just hauling toy trucks, but since I am very heavy, it needs to be a little overbuilt. Holy cow, did this video come out a lot longer than I had anticipated. Even in time-lapse, it's still a longer video than I had thought of. As you can see, it actually got dark there pretty quick because I went in for dinner. Here I am, I'm just notching the frame out to make sure those pieces of angle cross members sit down flush on the frame, and it's the way I did the other trailer too, is I actually just cut notches into the flat stock, and then that way the angle will sit in there. You can get a weld around the angle, and it just looks really nice, as opposed to trying to chop them to the correct length, weld it to the outside of the frame, weld it to the inside of the frame. This method is, I won't say it's easier, but I kind of like doing it this way as opposed to trying to, again, cut 3 separate pieces and get them all lined up. All I had to do was make sure my marks lined up on each side, and that got it done. I will have to pick up some more tubing and some more angle, as I kind of misjudged how much I'd need. So I can just go get another 3-foot piece of angle and a 3-foot piece of tubing, and that'll get me plenty to finish out building the trailer. Now I will have to order in the Red Cat hauler rear axle, the hubs that the wheels bolt to, because that's what I'm going to put bearings in for my trailer axles. And then I will run the Red Cat hauler duals on both trailer axles. So it'll be a tandem dual axle setup, as opposed to the original was basically super singles, because that's all I had. So again, time lapse, cutting stuff up, and again, the project's kind of easy because the front fenders on the CXT are pretty much 12 inches wide. The 53 COE hauler, same width. So I just made the trailer the same width as that. Scale, it might have needed to be just a
teensy bit wider, but I'm pretty sure on those Internationals the front fenders are just about 8'6". They might be a little under 8'6", but they're right close enough that again, if you're nitpicking, you'll notice it, but nobody's going to really notice it, especially if you don't watch this video.
Well, as you can see, it's dark out. I don't even know what time it is. Let's check the phone. 7:55. So probably should wrap this video up so I can edit it. And I should shower since I've been welding most of the day. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, well, technically 6 of my cross members in. I need at least 2 more. The neck, I got to get that tube centered between those 2 posts. And I didn't quite cut my angles quite right on that. So I think I need to sleep on that a little bit. But there we go. Trailer basically pretty much started. Good start on it. So that is going to do it for this video. Kind of a little all over the place, mainly trailer. Be sure to let me in the comments know gunmetal wheels, which were on the front of the truck, paint matched wheels, which were on the back of the truck, or do you prefer the flat kind of aluminum look, which never even got a tire on it? So those 3 options. Let me know in the comments below which one you think looks best. Now, the center section of the wheel that covers the nut and the little cap for that, and all of the lug nuts will be painted black, no matter what color the wheel is painted. That way it gives a little more depth to the wheel. It makes the hub and the lug nuts pop a little bit, and I think it'll make either of those options, any of those options, look really, really good. And I need to get measurements to squid inserts to see about getting some inserts for the truck. I still need to measure the drive shaft, send that off to MIP to get a custom drive shaft made. Lots of stuff to do, and a ton of bodywork on the Lil Red Express still. God, I'm really just not looking forward to that. Oh yeah, and hung up my Red Cat banner that Red Cat gave me when I went and talked to them and showed off the CXT at Proline by the Fire. So, hope everyone had a good weekend. I have a bunch more welding to do and measuring and order a shitload of parts. Plus I have a lot of body work to do. Plus I have a snowplow to put back together. Plenty of stuff coming up, so stay tuned. We'll catch you in the next one.